this workshop of the Community Redevelopment Agency today, Tuesday, February 16th, 2016, at 6 p.m. at the Carrabelle City Complex. And would Mr. Commissioner Calhoun please say the prayer, and we're going to say the pledge.
Our God and Father, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together tonight to do things that would be in the betterment of this wonderful city that we live in. We ask you to be with us in our judgments and wisdom, that we might do what's best for all people and what's best for this community. We ask you also especially to be with our Commissioner Keith as he recuperates from his surgery today, and those that are waiting and have his care in their hands, if you would be with them, all of their knowledge and wisdom might be brought to bear. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome, and thank you all for coming, Ms. Lillian. I just want to say that this meeting was announced, this workshop was announced at 5 public meetings, and then it was advertised in the newspaper and on Facebook, and then we had a public notice out here, and then on my way in we had a request to also post these special workshops at the post office if we can do that sometime next time. The public that's here, very little public, is encouraged to participate, and everyone will have an opportunity to speak. And so we'll just move forward here with item 1, and I want to remind you that this portion of our meeting is a workshop, and we won't be voting on these items that we're discussing. That voting will be deferred to the meeting, or possibly even deferred to the commission. We don't know how that will turn out. And we have item 1 is the Marine Street parking layout with new upcoming resurfacing project. Discussion only, and then the action is deferred to the CRA Regular Meeting. So before we hear from the public, do we want to, do any of the board members want to speak on this, or would you like to hear from the public first?
I'd hear from the public.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on the layout for Marine Street? Okay, Mr. Christie, please come forward and use the microphone and state your name, please, sir.
Turn it on.
My name is Louis Christie. I have a store on 208 Marine Street, and I do have some input. I do want to say, like I've said before, I think it's a dangerous situation to have cars sometimes backing up on Marine Street. It's really narrow in front of our store, but quite frankly, I think it's going to be 6 parking spaces from Frank's Bait Shop at 98 on Marine all the way to White Kitchen, and across the street there's like 3 parking spaces would be on each side if it's parallel only, and that's just not acceptable, I don't think, unless we have the city plans on putting in some parking somewhere else for people to park and become a shopping destination to walk around. We're getting new businesses all the time, some coming and going faster than I'd like to see, but some are taking their places really quickly, which is good news for us, I think. And but to have only 6 parking spaces to serve the pharmacy, my business, Franklin Realty, when someone is there. People also park right around that area a lot when the shrimp boats are getting ready to go out, and they park there, they just do. And I thank goodness we've had a lot of business. Our business has increased, and there's just not enough parking as it is right now, in my opinion. If we take away the angle parking, I think it's going to reduce at least by 4 the number of parking spaces.
So what I'm hearing then is that you would prefer, now there's 2 choices. We can have parallel only on both sides, or angled and parallel. angled on one side, parallel, and you prefer.
That's what I prefer, unless, you know, because it is a little bit dangerous to have that set up that way. And with the palm trees that are planted right there in front of White's Kitchen, somebody, if a big truck like mine is the first parking space, it doesn't have to be me, but any big vehicle, the ones that are, you know, further down toward 98 backing out cannot see. You cannot see as you're backing out to get around and pull out. And I've seen several times people come close to getting hit. But, you know, unless the city has got a future plan to come up with some parking right there in the immediate area to service the downtown businesses, then my preference is to put it right back the way it was.
Okay. And you know, we do have plans for down by the boat ramp, but that wouldn't help your area.
Yeah, that's not even close to any businesses.
There's nothing saying if we do develop a parking lot in the future that those spaces can't be repainted.
Right, right. And then I would vote for that if there was some parking that was available immediately in the downtown area. But as it is right now, there's nothing there, and I vote to put it back the way it was.
Okay.
Thank
Is
you.
there any, Miss Lillian, do you have any comment on the parking layout? Of the
Well, when I went to town and they had changed it in front of the History Museum, I don't parallel park. I'm a little old to start trying. And I went to Cal, and I see now that it's fixed. I do park in front of the museum when I come in like this, if it's an opening there, but if it was full of cars, I'd be looking for one of the other kind of parking places, and then I'd have to walk. So now I see that it's fixed like I like it. Thanks, Cal. So, it's okay. There's a lot of changes in Carrabelle. Some of it's not for the better.
So you would prefer to have angled parking in front of?
Yes, I would
Carrabelle
like
Properties?
some angled parking. I go to the drugstore down there and, you know, but, I know all this is for our betterment, but there's some things that I really don't like. I've been here a long time.
I know it. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to comment? Okay, do the board members have any comment on your parking on Marine Street?
I'd like to ask Liz, so you're saying you would rather have the angular both at Harry's and across the street from Harry's and in front of your place?
I think you're going to need that at Harry's, because they're already, they fill that up, and it can be, what's available now, it's full, most movements.
I know we've dealt with this before with angular parking in front of Harry's, because, you know, you can't get two cars in there at the same time. I mean, but what
It's a bad situation, but.
I understand what you're saying, because it eliminates some of the parking in that area, then it's go way down.
I hate to see those people at Harry's trying to parallel park.
Okay.
Parallel
Be like demolition derby.
Especially getting out.
Were you thinking the parallel is that diagonal parking on both sides in front of your store?
Oh, no. I'm not even sure you get one car through there.
The way it is now, it's diagonal on your side and it's parallel on the other side. And that's narrow.
And that's pretty narrow. Two cars can pass, they just have to be careful.
Yeah.
But if you have a big vehicle like my truck and you have it parked there, it's difficult getting around that, and it's impossible for anybody that's on the 98 side of that parked vehicle to see what's coming behind them.
And there's also a sign that says no U-turn coming from the north, and that's violated all the time because it's so easy to turn in and go diagonal rather than turn in and go parallel. So,
You know, there has been discussion about trying to get more parking over in front of the History Museum or where,
The hotel, motel,
the old motel property.
I remember hearing discussion
I
with
mean,
that.
that's come up and but
To buy that vacant lot right across the street from Christie's, make that park. That'd be an expensive one, probably.
no, I think the other one would be probably more feasible, yeah. But the Win One would be bigger, could hold more
What
traffic.
about the Butler's vacant lot across from the visitor center?
Well, that's even less far along, I think, is the Georgia Motel discussion, but, and I don't know that that would solve your parking for your places, Mike.
Well, it would allow at least people to be able to park and walk around and.
Now, we do
Enough room
have
to pull a
we have the Messer Pavilion right now, that's kind of in the same location and it's not used. It's unused.
I'm in favor of the Georgia Motel location, parking myself, because I see that area, the Avenue B, Marine Street area becoming really kind of a center of town that's off 98. You know, as long as we're just Highway 98, it's like this. If we, with the way Avenue B peels off 98, comes down to Marine Street, is naturally creating a little downtown pedestrian-friendly area. And if we can enhance that by providing more parking in that area, it could develop. I mean, someday that Gulf State Bank building next to Harry's old Gulf State Bank will be something else that draws more traffic. And I see that side developing more for pedestrian friendly retail than the north side of 98,
I agree with that.
where with the 67, it just doesn't lend itself. You know, the fire station, the police station, there's, so I think that's part of the issue that raised some of this other issue too, is that that side of 98 tends to look like a downtown that's pedestrian friendly, where people can pull in, sit, stop, walk, eat, and not just be on 98. I mean, there's no place to park on 98. So I don't know what solution Mr. Russell's come up with that makes cars smaller, makes our streets wider.
There's no cheap solution.
The only thing you could do to put angle parking on each side, which both engineers say, is to widen the street. And then you would have to take the buildings, and so the street can't be widened. So we have to live with what we have and try to work it out and do the best we can on that.
You know, that is really what's been behind my request for the appraisal on the Georgia Motel property.
We'll be discussing that a little bit in our regular meeting.
It was just appropriate just because of
I have one other question. What about, you know, on the north side of the, front of the drugstore there's a little cutout thing, if that could be removed, would that help us any at all? You know what I'm talking about?
The landscape island?
That little curve that goes out, I think there's something in there, it would open it straight on out to Frank's Bay Shop.
There's
Might be
another
room
one
for
across
another.
the street in front of Franklin Realty office as well.
Those outcroppings, that were designed, I know they were beautiful at the time, but they've been a headache from the very beginning. We've had people tear up the cars by not being aware of them and run into them. And in fact, we've heard did you hear something like that recently from somebody, Tamara? Yeah.
Well, there is opportunity there. I mean, those could become landscape areas that you may not want more landscape to maintain. But, you know, there's opportunity to do some aesthetic improvement. And as a practical matter, they protect the vehicle. I mean, it is marked.
And I have heard them referred to as well as traffic calming devices. You're either gonna slow down or hit it. The two that are up by Wicked Willie's, were cut back about 2 feet. There's a drainage box there, that had to fit in, so, that will give a little bit of extra room. They were cut back in line with the parallel parking. So,
There have been people who have come to me since that curb got put in there across right by Wicked Willie's, and said to me, that's just a place for people to wreck their car on. Because we had one like that previously, and our son Steve wrecked his car on it, and then the city took it out. But the way it's sitting out there, I've had 3 different people come to me. I don't know why why they come to me, but anyway, they come to me and say, why are y'all doing that? Why don't you just take it out? It's not helping anything.
I think though, you've attended most of our CRA meetings.
I have.
And you know that we've been around and around about those, and we demanded that they be removed, and engineering would not allow for them to be removed.
Yes,
because of the
and I've been
drainage.
explaining that,
Thank you, I appreciate
but
it.
it doesn't mean people don't
Yeah, they don't
still
understand.
like it. Still don't like it.
And I didn't like it either, but we're doing the best we can for that as well, because we only have so much room down there. So, Mr. Powell, do you have anything you'd like to say about the parking?
I agree with Mr. Christie that the parallel parking would be safer and probably better in the long run, but I don't see a solution to going that route at this time. I think the businesses need the angular parking and rather just leave it the way it is. And if we come up with additional parking in the future, we can retain it. We can go that route.
Well, half of Carrabelle don't know how to parallel park.
Right, that's the other.
All right, so is there any further discussion on this item? Are we prepared to close this item and defer it to our meeting for vote? Unless you have any more discussion, do the staff have any input, Courtney and Keisha? Although you are employees, but you are citizens of Carrabelle as well.
I can parallel park.
Okay.
But they didn't make us do that when we got our license, so we've got
I
used
agree,
to
the more
other kind of
parking, the
parking.
better.
I agree with them. Okay.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, I guess then we can go ahead then and move to item 2. And item 2 is review the proposed relocation of the world's smallest police station. And this is presented by Mr. Bo May, one of our CRA board members, and this is his proposal. So we'll defer to Mr. Bo May at this point. And then take public comment after he makes his presentation.
Is there a mic up there?
Yes.
Want me to bring the mic?
No, I guess I can use one of these. I was just,
If you want to stand as well, you're welcome to do that.
I did at one point want to walk over and just, let me read, if I may.
Do the audience members have,
we can have some friendly.
okay, or I can
Like,
give mine?
there's nothing in here that is not, there is no.
Okay.
I'm
so-
not gonna really say out loud.
And we'll share.
Here's a microphone.
Here's the next one, if someone would like to.
That's an agenda.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I'll get you. Thank you. I just saw Pat.
I'm going to basically read this so I stay on message as much as possible. Moving I added the word replica, since that is not the original telephone booth. Moving the replica telephone booth police station is not only about relocating the world's smallest police station to the Triangle Welcome Park for reasons of visibility, parking, and safety. And by visibility, I mean driver passenger automobile visibility when you drive 98 east or west. So visibility from your car. But it's specifically about diverting intentionally tourist traffic from Highway 98 onto Avenue B, thus helping to create a pedestrian-friendly destination, Carrabelle. This mini destination attraction is achieved by the combination of the future Big Bend Scenic Byway kiosk and the world's smallest police station with a photo op background. Using appropriate signage to attract the attention of motorists and with expanded available parking for cars, RVs, even vehicles pulling boat trailers, Avenue B and Marine Street will become the hub of a pedestrian-friendly downtown destination, which can naturally then spread across Highway 98 to shops and cafes along Highway 98 and Tallahassee Street. And I see that as preferable, even though my building is on the side of Highway 98. I don't see any way that it gets foot traffic unless people are out of their cars already. With the smallest police station were relocated, I'm suggesting that we create a photo op backdrop for the world's smallest police station, which would be a freestanding wall with a painted mural recreating the vintage image already familiar to tourists. That's sort of the vintage car with the police officer and a large Carrabelle logo. The reverse side of that wall will contain information about the history of the phone booth, images of old Carrabelle in the fishing and timber industry days, and directions to the History Museum where the actual phone booth is located. It would also include appropriate CRA recognition. This wall would be approximately 10 to 15 feet tall and wide, securely installed. An alternative to the painted display could also be featured by an actual vintage car in front of the mural. That makes it sort of a three-dimensional background for people who get out, who take their photographs of the phone booth. You've got a backdrop that is sort of pre-prepared for them in the photograph. I'm going to skip that for a second here. And this is not in my, this is an opinion, I admit, but I consider this a professional opinion and not my personal opinion necessarily. And the reason I say it's a professional opinion is because for 7 years, I was in the destination and theme park advertising and marketing business while employed both as an employee and independent contractor for Erickson and Associates in Nashville, managing broadcast production for the agency's largest and most important clients, the Opryland Theme Park, the Opryland Hotel, and the Grand Ole Opry. I was also involved in the initial branding and broadcast production advertising of the Fiesta Texas theme park in San Antonio, Texas. In short, my bottom line comment is if the world's smallest police station is to achieve its full potential, I recommended it be moved to the Triangle Welcome Park location. Had it been an attraction at Opryland, it would have been moved more than once to the most desirable tourist-friendly locations and freshened up often to both keep the old customers coming back and attract new visitors. And that made me sort of think that by the same standard in reverse, I would not suggest we move the Lincoln Memorial or the Golden Gate Bridge. I just want to point out a few things that I go. I'll talk aloud when I do that.
Press a mic.
Thank you. in addition to general observations from my looking at this from a sort of a envisioning it from a tourist destination, a photo op that people, a memory thing that people come and they look at. I've also lived right here for 3.5 years, and I've watched what goes on right here for 3.5 years. And this is a very dangerous place. There's no place to park. No RVs, no bigger vehicles can park in there. If you go to park, you park in the post office parking lot. People use this post office driveway here. They come from Highway 67 the wrong way through the post office lot. The big truck that delivers the mail comes flying in here in the afternoon. Traffic goes both ways in and out of there. And I see people with kids and families and whatnot, they're just pulling here willy-nilly and park their car and get out and walk around. And there is no other place for them to go once they've done that. They take their picture, they get back in their car, and they drive out of Carrabelle. The next, and here's another example of just how crowded that area gets right here. The other issue that about this in terms of visibility is you drive along and presentability and sort of cosmetic presentability of the police station itself. This is really cluttered. I mean, it may look familiar to us, but visually it's really very cluttered, not very presentable. And coming from this direction here, coming from the east, you cannot even see the phone booth. I mean, I've stood out there, I've stood in the middle of the street right here, I've walked down and I've driven down here. I've studied this for 3 years. And you just really don't see it down there. In addition to this palm tree has grown out of this other plant here, other tree, the Chinaberry tree. I knew you knew. And, and I knew I didn't. I mean, this is really a hazard, this thing right here. I mean, I'm surprised it didn't go down last night in the wind. I mean, that is, and not only that, it's really, frankly, it's not that, it's just not the best background for people taking pictures and sending them out on their phones to, that's our advertising. That is what we're saying to people, that's what it looks like. And I mean, I can't say they don't care because they sometimes don't know different, but they do care. This location, you come into town, you've got your welcome Carrabelle sign, you've got immediate access off Highway 98 to parking this way, a lot of parallel parking going down this way, which is good for bigger vehicles, it's good for RVs. We get almost no RVs stopping here because they just can't do it. You could do that over here. There's 2 entries into this area. Both of them are off 98, so they're safe. These parking spots don't mean that somebody won't get run over by, as well as they would there. But this is much more pedestrian friendly and a much safer place to be. The entrance from this side, which comes in from, I guess, the east side. The pad right here is for the Big Bend Scenic Highway sign. That's
large
where,
concrete slab. Yes.
right, and that's where that was sort of
That was designed
that
for
was
that.
designed for that. So what I recommend is that this be park benches like it was, but the opposite of that, which would be just directly opposite that, would have the police station. You'd have benches over here facing that, and we'd create a backdrop for this, which would sort of replicate in a way the photograph that's in the back that we're all familiar with, that we've seen. There are a number of ways to interpret that. It could be interpreted from a photograph, it could be interpreted from an artistic rendering. It would have Carrabelle signage, it would recreate a sort of vintage, early 60s, late 50s feel. And I think it would be a really, when somebody took the picture in their phone and they sent it out, you would see exactly what we want them to get from that stop, which is the police station, a nice background where they feel like they are in the picture, and it just makes a tourist destination type, and I call it a mini destination because it's not a big thing, but it is something that has a real, people see it, they look at it off the internet, they know this is something, when they come to Carrabelle, they want to stop and take their picture there. For a while, you know, they had that little, help me out here, one of you guys, with that little, little things they put under spots that people look for. Do you know what those are called?
QR code.
Those little
Geocache.
geocache. There was a geocache under here, and there'd be a lot of people would stop to look for the geocache, and I knew where it was, so I would give them hints, but I wouldn't find it for them. But the geocache is gone, by the way. I don't know what happens to it. That's basically what I think would be the best thing for us to do. And the primary benefit to me was that we create, by moving this here from over there, is we give people a chance to park their cars and get out of the car and feel like while they're out of the car, they can go around and do something else. When they park over here, they know they're in a roadway. They're just not, they don't stay very long. There's other, what I call future opportunities we have over here, which we don't have any future, unless we had the Butler, this property here, and could do something with that in terms of parking and other things. There is no future potential here for this being a better attraction. There's all kind of potential over here. I mean, there's the Butler property over there with the old, not the Butler, I mean the Watkins old hotel. People get out, there's more stores down here already, there's restaurants. I just think it gives us a little sense of a downtown area that we really don't have that's pedestrian friendly.
Mr. May, would you also include are you suggesting to include the bench with that, the bench there that's next to to move, or are you?
Well, I was saying we have another bench, a bench here. I think that's a nice place to have a bench. It's right outside the C shop, Vicky and Gordy's shop. You know, it's a nice place to have but it's more for people who are out on the street than it is for people to get out of it. Nobody gets out of their car and sits in that bench. I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen people who are shopping sit there on occasion. But this would have a bench right here. Now one more thing, then I'll stop. If you're driving, if this is here facing across 98, which is what, facing north across 98, you're driving west on 98. This thing is clearly visible from east and west in this location right here. I mean, you would see the police station. It would be nicely featured. It would have a nice backdrop. You know, it's got the nice palm trees around it. It's landscaped. It's going to have the Big Bend Scenic Byway thing there with it. Is that my phone? Shoot 'em.
Interrupting your own presentation.
I tell you. Anyway,
Mr. May,
Yes, ma'am.
you do have some history here that you haven't discussed. Would you discuss that? And we want to make sure that we allow time for public comment for our next meeting.
I would probably, I don't know that history that well. I do know that initially the phone booth was, you can correct me in this as it goes along, the phone was on the wall where it
Right,
was.
and the police cars were back there, in that little place where you come out from the post office. The police cars, they sat there all night. They had no police station.
Right, yeah.
And the kids would get the phone, throw it over the fence, and do all kind of things. We had a cop got caught in the booth one night trying to reach his arms, and he got stuck, weighed about 300 pounds.
Yeah, I know there's.
My nephew was there. He was a cop at that time.
Right.
Later became the police chief, but he was there at that time.
Yeah.
And they sat there for so many hours. They're on their shift. As you go through the post office and go through there, people do come in backwards sometimes.
Yeah, they
But
do,
there's people
yeah.
around Carrabelle don't, but it's other
No,
people.
they people from Brown Carrabelle.
Well, I haven't seen them, but I have seen people come in. They're not supposed to do that, but they do.
Yeah, you know, the good point of that for me, for what you're telling me, was that we collect a lot of stories of things that happened at that point, and we make a way to incorporate that information either.
Inside the phone booth, unless it's been moved, it's just Alvin Westberg, who was our cop that had no car, and he walked the beat. And in there, and Jesse Gordon's in there, my nephew,
Right.
and Mr. Johnny Maribel. And that has been there a long, long time.
Oh, I understand that. I'm not trying to, I don't disparage one bit of that.
Well, if we wanted Opryland, we'd go to Opryland. Now, that is a landmark.
Okay, I'm fine. It's still a landmark.
Yes, but right now, I went through there today and down at that other place there where you're wanting to move it. It looks terrible. Everything looks like it's been moved out of there. It looks all like it's grown up and it looks terrible.
Okay, well, if you could, that's fine, I understand. Anyway, that's my, opinion and my proposition, and I'll sit down and you can talk.
I don't want to talk, I'm just putting it back.
Miss Lillian Smith is the one speaking.
Yeah, I want to speak about it.
Right, I just wanted to, I said your name for the record, that's all. Would you like to come up and talk about it? Okay.
I didn't come out here to argue. Now,
No,
I'd
we
like
want-
the people
we
to
want-
know, I'd like the people to know that phone booth was on a documentary in Germany 50 years ago. My son was in Frankfurt, Germany, and they had a documentary there and they showed it. And he was so excited because that was a place, that was from home.
Remind him of.
Right. And as far as it being a danger there, the tree could be moved, they could move the tree, but I think that the little phone booth should be left where it is. I don't want it fancied up. People come to Carrabelle, they love Carrabelle, oh, they want to come to Carrabelle. Then they get here and try to change Carrabelle. I've been here 86 years. I don't want all them changes. Now, I like for the streets to be fixed, I like for all that, and I know it has to be done. But I think that it's a landmark, and I think it ought to be left just like it is. I do not want it fancied up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lillian.
And I do tell people to go look at it, and nobody's got damaged, nobody's got hurt, nobody's got killed. And they come to the History Museum where I work, and I'll point them to it, and they go look at it, and they take pictures, and they park somewhere else, and it does bring some business into Carrabelle. So I can't see moving it and fancying it. It won't be the same, I can tell you that.
Okay. Ms. Tamara, would you like to speak?
I would.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Tamara Allen, and I'm the director of the Carrabelle History Museum, and at the moment, the president of the Carrabelle Historical Society. So I think that's the hat that I'd like to have on this evening. I've always appreciated Bo's ideas about making Carrabelle a destination and some of the things that he has a real good vision for things. But I think in this particular case, that phone booth is symbolic to a lot of people of Carrabelle at a certain time. That was maybe a better time for them and maybe a better time for Carrabelle. Things were a little simpler then, but that phone booth, I know from having had it painted that there are a lot of people in town that are very concerned about its care and what we're going to do to it. So I did hear particularly from Gordy and Vicki about they want it to stay there because they believe a lot of their visitors to their shop come from people who are there to see the police, the Littlest police station. I wanted to share with you that when it was about a year ago, I received a phone call from the Department of State Historical Resources, and they were actually reaching out to us to see if we could suggest any buildings or sites here in the community that could be part of, have a National Historic Register sign for them. And they were willing to help write it. We still had to pay for it, which got to be the problem. But so I suggested the world's smallest police station, and there is a difficulty about it in that, as you point out, the original phone booth is currently at the Carrabelle History Museum. And the one that's there got replaced after that one was injured in a storm and wasn't really suitable for the public. And it's been our intention that now that we have possession of it, is to clean it up and get it functioning again, get the little light working inside and the different things, and to look at the possibility of replacing the original one back in that spot, in which case it would be eligible for a National Historic Register sign. And I know that local people in Carrabelle may not care about that, but there are people that make their whole vacations going from one National Historic Registry thing to the other. And Appalachia is full of them, and we have hardly any of them. So that had been kind of something that the Historical Society was considering trying to do, is to spiff it back up and replace the glass and so forth and get it put back out there. But so I have to say that from a historical point of view, that I don't believe that moving it would be a good idea. You know, I do think Bo's got some great ideas about the things you can do at another location. And of course, for people who are going to get out and walk around, we would love to have them visit the Historical Museum. So there's that as well. So I just wanted to go on record as saying that. And I think that's all I have to say about that.
Would someone else like to speak on this subject? And state your name and let us know what you think.
Do I need to go up there?
Please, ma'am.
I left the microphone on for you.
Thank you.
I'm Rosemary Kimbrell, and I've been living here about 8 years. And one of the reasons I like Carrabelle is because it's a historic town, and I'm very aware of signs wherever I go in different towns, and if they're attractive or unattractive or distracting. I think it's a big responsibility when you're voting to put some type of sign up in a historical area. And the history itself is what attracts a lot of people. And therefore, I would never want to put any type of mural wall behind the booth, because it detracts from the historical part of it. People stand in front of it, they take a picture, and what they want are the two people in the phone booth. And I think it should stay where it is and let people take pictures and let that little park, the entranceway to the town remained focused on that one sign that says historic Carrabelle. And I know this is the wrong place to do this, but that big sign that says Lamar on it, I think needs to go, because that's not attractive.
It says what now?
That Lamar big sign that advertises whatever they want to
We
advertise.
have discussed that.
Yes, it detracts from a historical town.
I couldn't agree with you
I
more.
know,
Yeah.
it would be very expensive to eliminate that, but it's on our minds, definitely.
Okay, well, that's all I have to say. I just would like for it to stay where it is. Thank you.
Ms. Rosemary. Mr. Christie, would you like to speak?
I would.
All right, thank you.
Again,
Okay.
Louis Christie again. Before our store was on Marine Street, for 2 years we were right across the street from the smallest police station. And from a safety point of view, again, thinking of safety, the police station being there, I am just surprised that there are no accidents that have occurred there. I've seen people in motorhomes slam on brakes and stop, and people pile out, blocking the exit coming out of the post office. I've seen people trying to get in, going the wrong way to park, with other cars coming out of the post office. People have no room on the right-hand side of the road to pull over, to stop, and go look at the police station. I understand the historic value, it seems to be, of it remaining where it's been for most of its life, but that's not the original location from the history I read of where the phone was first located. It's been moved to that location. And I agree with Bo May's presentation that I think it would be a lot safer to relocate it there. An alternative may be somehow to modify the right-hand side of the road, or that side of the road that the station is, to make a pullover lane for motorhomes or some other kind of additional parking on 98. Of course, that would mean maybe acquiring a little bit of land from the Butlers again, moving the sidewalk over and diverting it some so that you could have that pullover lane. But currently, I think it is an extremely dangerous place to have people with very limited access to pull over and view that. And like I say, I wish somebody from the police department was here that's been around for a long time to address that really there have been no accidents or anything. Nobody's gotten hurt there at that location. I've seen several times in my 2 years at the store across the street of near accidents.
But nobody's ever got injured.
Okay, but
It was
all
on the
I'm saying
fence,
is
it
just
was
near
on the
accidents.
fence behind the police booth to
Right.
start with. We didn't have a police station.
And if we leave it there, I think we should make some kind of attempt to provide some safe parking or safe access to it. So moving it seems like a safer idea than trying to leave it there unless we can acquire some land and provide some parking and better access to it that's safer.
We had discussed at some earlier time portion of that Butler property where we could have an RV pass through in something. I mean, it was all it was talk, but it was when I felt like that wasn't moving in any way that it was going to happen, that I thought I would pursue this. It was a safety and a visibility. That was where it started out, and then
I like the idea of people being able to park, get out, come see it, and if they have a safe place to be and don't feel rushed, maybe they would walk around and visit more of the town.
That's a good idea. Now, though, from our experience with this crosswalk, to develop an RV lane or to try to get the DOT to change Highway 98 would be out of the question. They're not going to cooperate, but it would then be up to us to acquire land around this original site to develop parking, which might then develop the other side, the north side of 98 instead of the south side at this point.
I assure you, I meant no nothing bad about
I
the
didn't
history.
either, but I just believe it's a landmark and it's been there. 50 years ago, it was having documentaries about it. People come to Carrabelle to see it. We tell them to go when they come to the History Museum. We ask them, have they been to the phone booth? And a lot of times they say, no, but we're going to it. And I've seen them taking pictures and no one has gotten hurt so far,
So far.
so far.
No, but I was just, I'm really, about being nice.
But no, I'm
I
sure.
really, I don't mean anything
I don't
bad
either.
It
about
wasn't-
it.
I just been here a long time. This is my
Yeah.
home, my town.
I understand.
And I know just about everything there is about Carrabelle.
I know, and I would love for all of that information to be included in so, Ms. Tamara, you make sure you get all of that.
He was not being
No,
disrespectful.
you know, I know he was. I wasn't
No,
either.
and,
Yeah.
Just
we,
stating how
actually,
I feel about it.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I'm a Christian and I'm not trying to start any trouble. I just would like to see it. I don't want it fancied up like Opryland or
Well,
something like that.
I just used, the only reason I brought that up at all was because, like I said, this wasn't necessarily my personal opinion about the police
Do
station.
you have the story of Carrabelle? Is that your
Yeah,
story?
yeah. And this, like I said, this wasn't necessarily my personal opinion about where it should be, or.
I know you're thinking about all the things that could be done to it, to cause people to be protected and all that. I understand.
And tourism.
You know, it was a point, like I said.
I just hate to see, I'm afraid once it's moved, people will lose interest in it. And this is something, this is a landmark for Carrabelle.
Yeah, I think moving it would honor it, frankly. I mean, that's my opinion, it would honor it.
Okay, do any of the board members want to speak on this issue at this time?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. It's one of those things that's, and I thought Bill's presentation was excellently done. I think he has credentials for having done this. But there's another issue going on in Carrabelle that I'm quite concerned about. And it came up in this past election between the oldies and the newbies. And I felt like that trying to preserve Carrabelle as is for the old folks that have been here and been raised here and their heritage is a very important thing. And I was trying to find some way of satisfying that and at the same time deal with some of the things that have to be changed. And change will come eventually. And there are 2 or 3 things in here I like about Lowe's presentation. One is that it would create a walking pattern for people to come in, and I would have an interest in that because I have a shop now, a gallery, and it would probably generate more business for me. But at the same time, that's just a personal thing, and it's not a big deal. I think that keeping Carrabelle in its historic setting is a very important part too, and keeping in mind the needs of the people that have grown up here and raised. And there is sometimes quite a bit of animosity toward the newbies, and I'm just using what I hear, they're coming in and trying to change things and dress it up like it was where they came from. And so when it gets dressed up sometimes, then they don't like it anymore. The reason they came here.
I didn't come from a
And the reason they came here was, yeah, I know he's not a newbie, but that doesn't stop the people from talking about it like that. And so I'm betwixt the two, you know. I know I don't know if
there
any
has
major
to be
accidents there,
change,
but
I mean.
I've never been struck by lightning, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That it's never happened before, or that it's always been this way. You know, you have to look at those things and their reality. I feel that sometime in the future, maybe something could be done along this line. But right now, you know, it's a real issue here that we're going to have to try to use our best judgment to deal with it, because. And I appreciate the work that he's done, and I think it's a great idea. But maybe you know, I feel like the time hasn't come yet for that.
I appreciate Mr. Bowe's presentation as well, and I appreciate Commissioner Allen's comments, and I do appreciate your comments, and they're well taken. Sometimes we do need to think about preserving the history, as Ms. Tamara talked about, and it's a symbolic location. Although it's dangerous, it's very dangerous, and I've heard from the executive director at the chamber. She enjoys watching people stop, and she'll go out and take their pictures for them. They have their cameras, they'll pose, and she says it's so dangerous when she's going back and forth. So if we decide that we want to leave the phone booth where it is, where it has been for, you say 50 years, Miss Lillian?
Well, it's been over that. It was there 50 years ago.
Then we would need to consider developing some parking area where RVs could pull in, because a lot of people come to see the world's smallest police station. It is a large tourist attraction. You may not realize.
Yeah, they even come to put handcuffs on them. They want to look like they've been handcuffed.
They do, and they want to come.
I've had my picture taken there with handcuffs on.
So, you know, from the historical point, as Ms. Tamara said, it may not be a good idea to move it at this time, as Commissioner Allen says, but the presentation is.
But it's coming.
It will come eventually, and the presentation is very persuasive. And maybe we could think of something else to put at Welcome Park, along with the Big Ben kiosk, that would help to make that a tourist destination. Mr. Powers, did you have anything you might like to say?
Yeah, I guess I'm the newbie.
Mr. Powers is the most.
I've only been here for 17 years. And I guess in the 17 years I've been here, the police station has been right where it is. And I've always, and I spend an awful lot of time walking around town. I walk all over Carrabelle. And I've always wondered in those years why the police station was where it's at. And I've learned something new here this evening. On the other hand, I also wondered why the police station looked the way it did, and for probably half of those 17 years, the police station was in pretty bad condition. Recently, the bubble on top has been fixed, but the paint was bad. There was a lot of litter in the area, and I just wondered why, as a newbie, why, if it was such an important monument, which I understand that it is, and I understand why it is, how it could be left in the condition that it's in. I also have a real strong concern for the safety of it. As I've mentioned, my wife and I actually spend a lot of time walking around town, and I came very close to being hit on the other side of the street, walking in front of where the Christie shop used to be, where the chamber is. And I think that was several years ago, and I think in those several years I've seen the traffic increase, the traffic volumes have increased, and I've also seen the speed of the traffic increasing also. I guess my feeling on it is that I think the Bowe's got a good proposal. I would like to also, though, I don't think it's economically feasible for the city of Carrabelle to think about relocating roads and putting parking in that area with the post office and with that being a major intersection in Carrabelle. I just don't think that's economically feasible. I do think that if the police station was moved, that it's worthwhile putting some sort of a monument there to preserve the location and preserve the names of some of the police officers that have served in Carrabelle and during that period of time. And I think that from a visibility standpoint, moving it over to Welcome Park would actually cause more people to stop and serve our businesses in town. I also agree with your opinion on the state of the Welcome Park. It is overgrown.
It is, it looks terrible.
It needs some grooming down there. So I would hope that if it was moved there, that we would figure out a way to keep that area looking much better shape.
It was beautiful when it was rehabbed, but I'm not understanding why our landscapers aren't taking care of it as they were appointed to do. But we need to adjourn this meeting, is that correct, Tisha? And open up our regular meeting, and we'll take this up.
Could I make one more comment?
Yes, sir?
I'm a newbie also. So, I'm not against newbies, since our one. But, it does represent somewhat of a conflict in the community, so,
And I'm a newbie as well. I've only been here 20 years, almost 21 years, so.
Well, I guess I'm oldie, because I'm
Yes, ma'am.
86, and I've been here a long time.
We appreciate your input, we really do.
I am still the baker for Carrabelle. Christmas, I missed him, but, cause he was closed when I carried cookies to every business in
We had
Carrabelle.
cookies. Okay, so we need to adjourn now and open up our regular meeting. So, may I have a motion to adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion and
I second
a second. Motion by Commissioner Allen, second by Rob Powers. And may I have a vote on that then? All approved? Aye. Okay, so any opposed? All right, then we're adjourned. And we need to go ahead then. Are y'all ready to just move forward then, or can we?
We can give Tisha 5 minutes.
I can just go on.
Okay, all right, we'll try to move quick, okay. So I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, February 16th, 2016, 7 p.m. We're at the Carrabelle City Complex, and I'll ask Commissioner Allen to say the prayer, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Actually, we don't have to read.
Okay, all right, thank you. So that's been confirmed by the attorney that we don't have to redo it.
I'm just gonna say ditto.
Okay, ditto, then, and ditto. All right.
Ditto.
We'll move quickly then to staff reports from the CRA Director, progress of the new CRA website.
Do you want to ask for approval in minutes?
Oh, yes, thank you so much. And we have 2 sets of minutes to approve, the January 19th minutes and the December 15th, 2015. May I have a motion to approve the minutes, the 2 sets of minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, then the motion carries.
All right, staff report. CRA website, we are up online now. Has everybody had a chance to look at that?
I did. Is it open, or are we still, is it still restricted?
No, it's open.
It's open.
And she is still making some changes. She was still changing out some pictures that we requested to be changed, and she still had a few documents that we needed to get to her to put on there, but it is up, and if you have any suggestions or comments, and if you'll let me know, we can get those to Tana and she can change it.
And that's called www.mycarrabellecra.com.
The hire for the professional fountain repairman.
I have not heard back from him. He was supposed to be ordering the pump, and he hasn't responded to me.
Repairs to the memorial wall, we have in all the bricks, we're ready to get started. I just need to schedule a time when we got some good weather for the mason to come out of Apalachicola to do the work. And the appraisal on the Georgia Motel, I spoke with them earlier this week, and they are still working on the appraisal. He apologizes for being behind, but must be busy this time of year because the surveyors are behind too. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Courtney, and then the city attorney has a staff report.
Yes, at the last meeting, I was asked to look into the title, status of title on the Sonala property, the old Crum Ice House. And I can just give a quick summary of it. It's suitably complicated. It still shows as record title holders Shazad Sonala and Shazan Sasson, which I believe is a cousin or a sister of Dr. Sonala. There is a $770,000 in principal mortgage that Regions holds on it. a $1.8 million judgment from Al Simpler on the property that's attached to the property, and a federal tax lien in putting them together that looks like about $890,000, plus the 2009 through 15 taxes that have not been paid on it, certificates issued for 2009 through 14. There was a foreclosure action started in 2010. It was dismissed in August 2011 by Regions and has not been restarted. There's possibly, as I had discussed at a prior meeting, Dr. Sonala and his wife had declared bankruptcy in 2004, and although they still show as the record title holders on it, my understanding is, and I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, but they did surrender that property to the bankruptcy court. So, all this being said, it's buried under a bunch of liens, from the primary one being the bank lien. The judgment possibly could be removed from the property through a statutory process that lets you remove judgments after bankruptcy. The IRS lien could be a whole nother matter, which is $890,000, and certainly any taxes owed on it would still be owed on it. So, we don't need to take any action on this. If there is any additional interest, I can certainly keep burrowing down on this to kind of nail down exactly which liens still apply. I could reach out to Regions Bank, that sort of thing. All that being said, there definitely are strategies that can be used to clean up the title to the property, but it would be tricky to have a municipality or a CRA board do that. And we'd very much be acting like a private entity, which the CRA board could do, but it always raises eyebrows when we get into real kind of private.
This would be a long, drawn-out process.
It would be a long, drawn-out process and expensive.
And so this $887,000 federal tax lien, that's on top of the mortgage lien?
They all are cumulative. Yep.
Oh, and the mortgage lien is?
$770,000 principal, and it obviously hasn't been paid since for a decade or more.
And then all the tax certificates that are earning interest that may not be that much, but it could still be about $40,000 or something in there.
Yes.
So.
You say, I'm sorry, did you say 30?
It could be the tax, well, I don't know, I mean, I would have to get online and I'm just guesstimating. I looked at one time and I just kind of looked at, but there's two pieces of property there. Yeah, but you can look online and see what's owed on the back taxes. And of course, these certificates would have interest on it, you know. But it's mainly the mortgage and the federal tax lien. I mean, you're looking at $1.5 million there at least. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sure. I thought that the county, I think, had condemned the property.
That is our understanding.
Is there any, the city did or the county?
City and the county, they were.
Does that give anybody any rights to do something with, I mean, can the county?
Is that the old Crumb Fish House?
It is.
I didn't think they could put any kind of business there anymore.
Probably not, because the property's been condemned.
Well, that's what I was thinking about.
But I'm not saying tear down the building, but could the building be torn down to make it?
It could, if it's determined to be a nuisance.
That was the old Simmons's Fish House at one time. And then it would just be another lien on that.
And the other,
It would be another lien on the property.
And then, but really nothing much can be done with that building. I believe it's valued at about $13,000. So only 50% of that $13,000 is the only allowed improvements on it because of the FEMA flood zone. So not much can be done with that building. So, and my question would be, could the CRA or the city if we didn't remove the building, you know, if we didn't consider that, could we put fencing, say a 6-foot fencing across the entire property? Of course, that would be very ugly, but for safety reasons.
Cameron, that's not a historical building.
We could, and certainly, you know, absolutely for safety reasons, we could, bottom line is we could.
Let's
The-
don't say we did.
The only problem with that is the lawyer.
Okay,
concerns.
please,
But-
wait, Miss Lily.
Isn't that a historical building?
It is, but it's not on the National Historic Register, is it?
Not yet.
And, so you would have to get someone to buy that, to put that on the Historic Register. So,
Basically, think of it this, well, I can tell a long story, but the bottom line on that would be, we've got to be careful before we take over responsibility for that property. If we're going to take over responsibility, then, you know, we got to consider, hey, is the fence enough? Because if someone climbs over or through or, you know, all this on the fence, then all of a sudden we didn't secure the property well enough and someone gets hurt. Or,
so if we fence it, then that means that, if we fence it, that means then we're taking responsibility of the property?
having dealing with all these personal injury attorneys I have to deal with now, that's a possibility. I mean, they would look to us, certainly. If it was our fence that failed to do its job or something like that, it could come back on us.
And so would this would be a big cost to try to sort out, though, for us to sort out. Yes, sir.
Is there a way for the city to declare it eminent domain
Uh,
and take over the
I'll let
property?
I'll let the attorney.
And all the other.
Well, Florida's very strict on eminent domain, and if it's for a needed roadway or a bridge or a hospital, but I don't, you can speak on that, but I don't think we can do that.
I mean, what we could do, I mean, there's, I feel like, and it's sort of a public meeting, but obviously I feel like Donald Trump, I'm not gonna tell you what we do, because then everybody else will know about it, is there's absolutely ways to try and put the city in a position to foreclose a lien, to take over a tax certificate and obtain it through a tax sale, apply for a deed. There's absolutely maneuvering that we could do that I advise private people on all the time. It's simply the concern that I would have as a government attorney on this one, where my government hat on this, is all of a sudden people say, oh, wait a minute, you know, the government is competing with me. Obviously, you know, the bank doesn't want it, the IRS doesn't want it, people who hold these tax certificates don't want it, so there isn't a big demand for this property necessarily. However, no good deed goes unpunished, and if the city, because the city needs to move around these judgments, this mortgage, all these different things, we have to, it doesn't, the property's not worth what any of those is alone might not be worth the taxes that are owed on it. So we would have to, and the taxes are probably the most unavoidable, meaning the state ADJOURN taxes, but there are absolutely methods to try and take a run at it, to try and get it at the least expense, and obviously we'd have to abort the mission if the IRS gets involved and says, no, you can't shake the 890, the region's bank steps up and says, no, we're enforcing our mortgage, that sort of thing. But there's absolutely more we can do, but it's more a question of, do we want to do that? Yeah.
Can we afford it?
And actually, that would look to the board to tell me, is like, what is the CRA's goal? I mean, is it the goal that the CRA would own this property, get it cleaned up and own it? If the goal is simply to, I mean, we hate to clean up other people's property, you know, put a lien on it that'll never get repaid to us in the long. But if the goal is, hey, this is a nice piece of waterfront property that the CRA could use for a park, just random things, and say, hey, we'd be willing to pay $50,000.
It was a fish house in 1946.
I've seen the old pictures. Cool. I mean, big dock out there.
In the survey that Beth and Sebita did, they recommended developing a historic district, and that would change the rules of FEMA. We would not operate under that 50% thing, and so we would be able to put a lot more, have a lot more leeway to deal with it, as well as some other buildings. It'd be a very valuable thing
It
for the entire
extends
business
well
district.
beyond the fish house. There's a lot of frontage. There's a lot of waterfront that it comes with. To me, it would be you all telling me, Dan, you know, the CRA would like to allocate this much money to it, meaning that the CRA understands that to demo the building and put up, do dock facilities or whatever they're doing, and say, hey, that's I mean, no, it's gonna be a lot of money. If that's a $100,000 effort, we want to embark on that. And then say, we'd like to spend a small amount of money, $1,000, whatever, with the lawyer to see, hey, is there a path to get there? I mean, sitting here tonight, if I was looking at it, again, with my private hat on, and someone said, I want that, but I do not want to pay the IRS, I don't want to pay the judgment, and I don't want to pay the bank. I'd say, go talk to the guy who holds the 2010 tax certificate, find out what it'll take to buy that, and go ahead and apply for a tax deed, go down to the clerk, down at the county, and have them advertise and run all that, show up at the tax deed sale, and I've got to refresh my memory, but I think the tax deed, there'll be rights of redemption by some of these parties, but I don't think they'll redeem it because they've ignored it all these years. You could get it clear that way, but you're gonna have to pay all the old taxes. So at a minimum, you'll have to pay all the old taxes. And some could bid against you or against us, the city and all that. That's pretty straightforward, but that would be a way to potentially accomplish it.
I would like to just discuss on the historic district comment. I've attended a couple of the FEMA classes, and historic district does not relieve the FEMA obligation. It has to be on the historic register. Is that correct, Keisha?
Yes, ma'am.
It has to be on the historic register, just because it is located in it. Okay.
And even then, 50% of the building would have to be still standing because it's not a buildable lot.
Okay.
So I don't know who would determine that, but.
And then I would just remind you all too that takes that off the tax roll. So until the CRA sunsets in 6 or 7 years, that's less income to the CRA, and then it would be less tax revenues to the city. So I would just say that part as well. And
Are we getting anything off of it now?
well, the tax certificates are being purchased.
So that's a good point. Right. Tax certificates are being purchased. Right.
But if they're not paid, we
Sorry, when the tax certificates are purchased, so the taxes have
Okay.
been paid by
CRA.
But, and let me just modify that, is probably the swiftest path to buying something that you better be careful what you wish for, as far as if we did own it, we'd have ourselves something we'd be spending money on. I believe to do the tax deed process, we have to pay all the taxes. So we pay all outstanding taxes in order to apply for the tax deed. Which would be, that would be it's simple this way. Let's say we paid all the outstanding taxes at $30,000, we would show up, our opening bid would be $30,000. If no one showed up and offered more, it would go back to us. We would get the tax deed issued to the city, or the CRA. And then, remember, we can then clear the property, do whatever improvements, and it would be like a Morehouse. I mean, we don't have to.
Could sell it.
We can sell it. And it'll be in a position to be sold at that point. Right
But
now.
we need to, before we would move forward on this, we need to know the exact amount of the back taxes, 30,000, 40, 50, whatever it is. I mean, we need to know that. And according to the Florida statute that governs CRAs, you would have to have a definite plan for property, to purchase property. You have to have a plan for it. And then and it's just like the Morehouse, if you want to sell it, then you have to find a property, a purchaser that wants to develop it according to that plan. So we need to move forward. Do we want to take any action on this, or just think about it a little bit? We've got some good research done already, or what the board like to do here?
I think I move that we just continue to keep it on the radar and keep looking at it and see what other options are available, if any.
Does that mean you want to table it?
That's the motion.
Okay, so, and Commissioner Allen motions to table the discussion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, is there any more discussion? And I think that's a good motion, and that then in the future would allow when our other members are back active that they can have input as well. Okay, all in favor of that motion? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries to table this discussion to future. All right, well, is there any public comment?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's a different subject. Is the Mander property still?
I talked to Vance Millender and Michael Schuler last week about it again. I'm told that it's getting closer. They're optimistic that they can get it resolved. I went through the details of it. It sounded good. Two other things came up, worth just, again, putting everybody's to think about, was to execute another extension of, I think it expires the end of this month, and they thought they could, you know, it's resolvable, it will be resolved in the next 30 to 60 days. I said, well, why don't you go ahead and have your realtor prepare the extension. Obviously, we've already authorized Courtney to sign them, just to keep that option open. The other thing was, and we had talked about this before, is the possibility, and again, I don't necessarily have to get all into it tonight, but that if they are unable to get it title cleared at this point, that we enter into, again, it's up to the board. I think we talked about this briefly before, because he asked me about it, and I said, well, if it comes up, is potential for a long-term lease while they're trying to work through it, if it dovetails with what we're doing down there. Because I know we had the big plans, and my only response to that was, of course, I'll mention it, and we can't be vacating property based on a lease, typically. So that component of it would change a little bit. But we can always, you know, we on our part, where we talk about repurposing some of that right away for our use for parking stuff, that's all fine. But I don't see any legal problem with a, you know, again, like a 25-year lease or this or that. But obviously, it's different from what we talked about. So.
Yeah, I guess part of the issue was that we were kind of capping our costs, being able to combine it with the Marine Street.
Absolutely.
And so that's going to change.
That's not happening.
That's not
No.
happening. Right.
No, sir. And I would just say, let's say 25-year lease, I don't believe that the CRA can commit to something out past when it's the sunset of the CRA. I don't think.
Good point. Yep.
It can't commit like that. Do we need to motion for Courtney to sign another? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, do we need to motion for Courtney to sign another extension, or would that be for next month?
I think we could do that, or I think essentially we've already given her authority to execute the contract documents and everything, so I think it would extend on. But you know, I was just commenting on what you're talking about, I can look into it, is, for instance, the CRA owned the Morehouse when it sunsetted, and we did not renew it. We didn't decide to legislate or extend the life of the CRA. We just said, we're not interested in the CRA anymore. I believe I've read somewhere that the assets of the CRA would revert to the city.
That's correct. That's correct. But I do know, as far as a mortgage or, you know, taking out bonds, the CRA can't take.
Can't commit past.
Yeah.
So I don't know what a lease is usually an asset as opposed to a liability. I totally understand you couldn't extend liabilities of an entity that was not existing in 6 years. But I understand what you're saying. It probably would be not, you know, it's not, so it's tricky.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Hartman? Okay, then we'll move forward. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. All right, then we'll move to new business, where we'll take up again the discussion of the proposed relocation of the world's smallest police station, and at this point, we can vote, so we would have discussion and possible action.
I think, I'm not gonna make a motion to proceed myself. So someone else does that second.
What was his motion to proceed?
He's not, Mr. May does not, he's not going to motion to proceed. He said he would second if someone wants to make a motion to proceed.
Yeah, someone for just discussion purposes, I would, but I'm not going to pursue it at this point. Can I just withdraw it off?
Well, you could certainly withdraw it.
I mean, it would, I didn't own it, but I know it's.
I think, I would like to say, I think we had good discussion.
I feel like we've probably said everything that needs to be said about it. I think it's a great idea, but like I say, somewhere down the road, I think it might be a better time.
I just, we had a discussion, and that's all I wanted to do, was put it up on the table, and we'll talk about it. It's good.
We don't really need to table it since there's nothing else.
He's removing it.
Yeah, okay.
But it was a very good discussion in the workshop. We talked about the symbolic location, possibly developing parking in that area, the historical point of view, safety, and in another location, a mini tourist destination, which the Florida League of Cities does suggest, highly suggest, to take your best assets and to both try to develop that into tourism. So.
Could I make a sub-motion of some sort, that we have somebody look into the palm tree growing out of the China River?
Some signage would be real good out on both entries, Carrabelle, home of the world's smallest police station. If that could ever happen, that'd be good.
I would second your motion then.
And what would you want to do with the palm tree?
I would like to see both those. I mean, I think if you took down the palm tree, you would end up taking down the other tree also. And we could get an opinion from someone else to advise them the nature of what's going to happen to that tree before it falls on the wires.
We have a good tree remover now, Ray Tire. Ray Tire removes the trees. He just took one out of my yard.
Oh, I bet they're real busy right now too. I just think that's a real that is an eminent hazard to me. It's right on the power lines. It's going to hit the car, any car parked, Vicky's, their car, my renter's car, the car.
Miss Lillian, what do you think about removing the tree?
I think the tree needs to be removed, palm tree and the other one. If it's a danger, it needs to be moved.
And Miss Tamara, I'm just calling y'all out now, you historians here, we want to know these things.
I think the tree is dangerous, the way it's growing. It's the base of the palm tree, the Chinaberry tree is now growing out of it. And I think it's just making both of them weak, so maybe replacing it with a more appropriate tree would be a good idea. A safe tree. It kind of gets the point across about the car park there, with the tree being there.
The Chinaberry trees in our landscape ordinance is illegal.
Illegal? And what do you, y'all don't have to answer, but I would ask the staff, since they are citizens, and we have very few citizens at this board, do you have input on that?
As for the tree,
to remove it?
I think the tree's outlived its life. I agree with that.
I bet you could.
You probably
I said it'll be gone in the morning.
You can
Before y'all change y'all's mind.
What'd she say?
We'll make sure it gets cut down first thing in the morning.
I would be happy with that. I mean, that would be so. I'll make
It would
a
make
motion.
it more visible,
It would help a lot, yeah. It would, and it would also remove.
but that may be a whole different workshop in itself.
Cutting down trees.
It's worth that.
They're like Lake Wobegon.
All right, so do we want to?
I stand down.
All right, I have removed the, police station discussion. And are we going to discuss the tree any further? Is there going to be a motion on that?
I would make a motion that we remove the tree. I'll make a motion that we remove the tree behind the police station. The trees.
I second it.
We're gonna tell everybody that you seconded that. Miss Lillian said it was okay.
That's good, but I think if she said it's okay.
She seconded it.
I second it.
Now, we don't have anybody that's gonna claim they planted that tree there, that's gonna fuss about it.
It'll be gone in the morning, you won't have to.
I
worry
saw
about it.
trees up by the roots today from that weather last night.
Surprise out of
Yes, we could look at replacing it with a suitable, maybe a small palmetto palm, which would be the local palm tree, or something suitable
It'd be low, yeah.
that wasn't falling over.
And do we know of anyone that planted that tree in particular?
No, I don't.
Okay, so, do we have a second then, Mr. May's motion to remove the Chinaberry palm tree?
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lillian. Do we have any?
And I'll second the second.
Okay, so we have a second by Mr. Allen.
It would look better too. It actually would.
I wish we had you on the microphone, Ms. Lillian. So Ms. Lillian actually seconded the motion for us, and she says that it would look better to remove the tree.
But we would need to put something there downtown, wouldn't we? Like a small palmetto palm or something, something that didn't grow.
Okay. All right. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then the motion carries. All right, we're going to move on then to the proposed parking design layout for Marine Street. Do we could motion on this, or do we think we need to defer this to the city commission? Mr. Hartman?
Yes, we need to, I would say, we need to do it both places. So,
Okay.
because the CRA board is paying for it, right? That's why we're talking about it a lot.
Yes.
Because, yeah, since we're providing funding, but we also need it kind of ratified by the city at the next meeting. Cool with that, Keisha? Put that in as well. So both places. So we need a motion here and the city commission.
Okay, so may we have do we need to have any more discussion other than what we just had in our workshop? Okay. May we have a motion then regarding the parking design layout for Marine Street to advise the city commission?
I'll make that motion, yes.
And
Move
how-
it to the city commission.
But how would you advise the city commission to have parallel only or parallel and angled, as it is now?
I couldn't make a motion on either way. I think just, I'm making a motion that we have it back to the city commission for open discussion for the public.
We're making a recommendation based on the workshop.
We need to make a recommendation.
I just have a question.
You have to take a second before we go.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double
We got
check with you so that it'll go to the city commission next month, right? So I was curious for our timeline, since they could be paving this month, so we just have them hold off on
Striping.
striping.
And March the 10th is our meeting.
That was the next.
That wasn't temporary.
That's permanent. and
That,
we did
yes,
change
that was very costly. So we need to get it right the first time.
Was it, could I just take a picture of that on the screen?
Oh, gosh, is it gonna, it's, so they're in the.
We didn't have,
We didn't have a picture.
We're not changing it at all, we're still going back what was there, it still has to go.
Okay, that's, okay, I've got that.
I wouldn't think if we're
No,
not
no, if it's
changing-
going back, if we're not changing it, then it doesn't have
Right,
to.
I think
Because
that
we're
was-
changing traffic flow, parking, you know, like that. If we're not changing it, sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
So,
so if
we
it's
could
still
make-
back,
we could make a motion to leave the parking angular and parallel as it is. That'd be good, yeah. No
and,
change.
and then we wouldn't have to go to the commission if we're not changing it.
Okay, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. All right, so we have a
Okay.
motion by Mr. Powers to keep the parking on Marine Street as it is now. And Mr. Commissioner Allen has seconded that. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, so we want to now discuss the proposal to authorize staff. We want to discuss the proposal to authorize staff to prepare an application for the Land and Water Conservation Grant Program, and Environmental Consulting Technologies brought this grant to our attention, so she might want to speak to us just a minute on it.
Yeah, just a quick second. I think we had talked about this last year for the 4th Street boat ramp, this grant application, because you can use it to acquire property. So one thought was possibly for the Millender property is you can use some of this grant money to purchase property. Or if it does go into a lease agreement, you could still use it also to help develop it. The lease agreement has to be in place by the time you submit the application. And the applications are due, I believe, in the beginning of April. I thought I had it right here, but, and you have 1 year to acquire the property. If you're asking for funds for acquiring property, you have 1 year to acquire the property. And then if you're going to do the application to develop the property, you have 3 years to develop the property also. And it can be used for the parking and putting in lighting. And you can, the maximum grant amount is up to $200,000. And it is a dollar for dollar match. So that you can ask for as little as $10,000 if you want to, or up to $200,000. So it was a thought to, do you want to, this could be some money that could be used to help either purchase that property or help to do the parking lot, or whatever you want to do there.
Okay, the actual property has to be named in the grant, is that
Correct.
Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, if you're going to
So,
acquire it, correct. Mhm. Yes.
And if it worked out that we were not able to acquire the Millender property, but we were awarded the grant, then we just wouldn't take advantage of the grant.
Right, and we can double check to see if there, or if maybe there's something else that you've been looking at. Maybe you might be able, I can double check it to see if maybe you could maybe put a couple different locations in there. But I'll double check to make sure if we are going to call it out. I do know if you're going to develop, of course, you have to have a lot of that in a conceptual plan, which we kind of already do have a little bit of a conceptual plan that,
Well, it might be a good idea to just go ahead and apply for the Millender property in good hopes that we do get to acquire that.
It's March 28th is when they're due.
Okay, March 28th. But I would suggest not to go for the large amount, the maximum, but maybe more a smaller amount, 25 or 30 or something in there where we might be awarded a small. What did we apply for last
We
year?
didn't do it.
Okay,
We just
didn't do it.
ran out of time before it was due.
Some of our costs.
And that it's,
Okay.
We're gonna have
through the-
now more so than we
Right.
had, all this worked out.
and it has a nice little checklist that we can just go through and check, kind of check some boxes. There is a little narrative that, needs to be written, but they kind of tell you no more than 3 paragraphs, they don't want a big document, they don't want it in a 3-ring binder, so I like to keep it simple.
Would we like to have a motion on this?
Yeah, just a question, you mentioned that we're going to go for a larger amount what's your reasoning there? I just want to
Well,
know.
Mike, with the past going to the Water Management District for some grants for the city, we just don't get the big grants. I mean, we did get the big grant for this stormwater management out here, but it seems like it's more, a better potential if your grant request is small.
I think also if we went for the 200,000, we'd have to match it for 200,000.
Yes, that's true. If we
Dollar.
make a dollar, we might not
I understand
be
that.
able
That's
to do
good
that.
point.
Okay, would we like to move forward on this, or?
I move that we apply for, what amount that we need to apply for, 20, 50? Okay, I move that we apply for 50,000.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Allen to apply for the Land and Water Conservation Fund at 50,000, at the amount of 50,000, and that is seconded by Mr. Powers. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, Mr. Powers.
On the $50,000, is there, as you go up in dollar amount, does it get harder to receive the grant? I mean, are we, should it be less, and would we have more chance if it was $25,000 instead of the 50?
That's what she was saying when I asked her about the reason.
But I was thinking 200 too.
Well, for matching, no. And
Is there any attorney that has experience with this? Or
we could probably go either way.
you can go either way? So if it's property, like this would be, is somebody gonna rule more favorably on it as opposed to if it was something?
I think it'll be depend on the story we write in the grant application too. You know, I think we have a good story for down on that end.
They did write a story and got the water management retrofit, so.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, so, any more discussion then on the 50,000 amount? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. All right,
Mayor, may I ask for a break?
would you like to have a recess? Okay, so we'll take a, sorry, Mr. Large, we're gonna, may we have a motion for recess?
I like a motion to recess.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, so motion for recess by Mr. May, second by Commissioner Allen, and any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries. To call back to order here our CRA meeting, please. And we'll have, under old business, we discussed this very briefly at our last meeting, presentation of the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG project in the CRA district, and Novia Consulting Group is going to give a presentation on that, discussion and possible action regarding CRA partnering with the CDBG program.
Thank you. Please, board, I'll just talk loud from here.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of the project that was brought forth by the Citizen Action Committee, Task Force. The project is street improvements on Avenue B from 11th Street to 5th Avenue. I'll zoom in a moment, but this green color here is between 3rd and 5th Avenue. This is a residential area which the grant would not cover. That area would not be eligible. So it could be designed at this time and included as an alternate bid, but it would not be grant eligible. The elements of the project that would be grant eligible are shown in green here from 11th Street behind the IGA to 5th Avenue. And we also had proposed side street improvements on 7th, 8th, and 9th. And those would connect to a US 98. So that's just a brief description of the limits of the project. The typical section of the roadway would change from 2-lane rural, meaning it's got ditches, to an urban section with curb and gutter, sidewalk, some streetscape element, and possibly lighting was also discussed as an option. Just to zoom in a little closer, again, the base bid that we would consider is the primary project on Avenue B, and the alternate bids would be the side streets. And those would be considered an unmet need, so that if there's enough money available in grant funds, that those side street projects can be constructed. I don't think there's action necessary from the board this evening. However, there would be some participation from the city required as part of this program. And in talking with the city before, the CRA board, or monies from the CRA would be the participating funds along with this project.
That's what we had discussed a little bit at our last meeting, is to partner with the CRA to partner with the CDBG grant. And at this point right now, we have allocated $150,000 for resurfacing of Avenue B from 11th Street to 3rd Street. That's correct.
That's correct.
And we have also allocated $20,000 to do the side right-of-way parking by the IGA and by Fisherman's Wife. We could take these funds and partner with this grant, and that would help to pay the $25,000 that's required.
Matching funds.
And then also help to pay. We've already allocated or approved a task order already for $16,360 for Innovia to engineer the street resurfacing. I've learned recently that all resurfacing has to be engineered. So anyway, they just can't show up and pour asphalt. So we have done that much. Now, if we partner, we would most likely have to authorize additional engineering for the CDBG project, because that is not paid for in the grant. The engineering is not, you cannot pay for engineering for this, and it's $650,000 grant. And that's with Mr. Fred Fox. Of course, he gets some administrative fees.
And just to clarify, the engineering would be done up front ahead of the grant application. The reason is it's a very competitive grant program, and having the engineering completed, you get additional points for that.
And I'm trying to think of the fellow's name, I can't remember, he came down here from the Department of Economic Opportunity. Patrick Howard and Mr. Fred Fox and Mr. Large and Courtney and myself spent about 4 hours reviewing this project to make sure that it would have plenty of points and everything that it would need to be approved. And then, so we could partner with them with this grant, like we did the water management grant, and did a really big project out of it, and help to develop our commercial district, expand our commercial district back to Avenue B. We could even allocate more funding to it. Now, the way I understood it is once your engineering is done, once the grant is submitted and if it's approved, there's no change work order. You have to adhere to the actual plan.
That's correct. The base bid is required to be constructed.
Mm-hmm.
And so by removing elements of it and considering it as an alternate bid and an unmet need, that provides the flexibility to adjust what's constructed for the money that's available.
Mm-hmm. So if there are any changes or additions, then that would need to, just like we've had changes and additions at on the Marine Street project, that would be CRA. responsibility. So, it's the pleasure of the board if you would like to partner with this grant and get more bang for your buck with what we have allocated, or if you would like to allocate more, or let the grant stand on its own.
Is that a question you want to respond?
Well, we would need a motion if we were going to move forward with this.
I make a motion that we move forward so we can maybe get a second and discuss it. That's what we take. We need to ask you a few more questions from the city.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Bo May to move forward with the, let's make a motion. I mean, you
I would make
need
a
to put
motion
the
that we partner with the city and with the grant and put in as much of our matching type funds or whatever is required to maximize the opportunity.
Okay, so we have a motion by Bo May to partner with the CDBG grant, and a second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any discussion?
The total number amount, Russell, what you, just off the top of your head, I know.
Yeah, okay,
Throw some
and this would be shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
The Avenue B portion, depending on how much streetscape improvement we wanted to try to do here, and lighting, there's some drainage that would have to go in along with the curb and gutter. But shoot from the hip, somewhere around $450,000, $500,000 for that portion. And again, it's a very preliminary estimate.
Yeah, I'll forget the number.
But that leaves some room to breathe to allow for those side streets to be
That would be
included.
paving, sidewalking, some sort of landscaping.
Right, right. Radius return improvements,
Yeah,
ADA handicap ramps.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Okay, all right then. This is stimulating some, now are you proposing sidewalks on each side of Avenue B? On north and south side, or just one side?
Well, I think it's gonna come down to a matter of money.
Okay.
Because on the south side, that would be grant eligible on the north side, because it's so residential there, it would not be.
Okay. And then curb and gutter along the whole way, and stormwater management?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the connector streets, are you proposing sidewalks there and resurfacing?
Yes.
Well, they don't, sidewalks and resurfacing?
We were actually proposing curb and gutter and sidewalks on the side streets as well. Same treatment as Avenue B.
Uh-huh.
And the concept there is to provide this aesthetic atmosphere, somewhat pedestrian friendly, and promote businesses to locate here.
I would just like to say that I don't concur with a lot of the landscaping, because we can't afford the water. The water is very, very expensive. I know Commissioner Allen is signing some of these checks to pay for water. Then the maintenance of the landscaping, and we know what we're paying for maintenance of landscaping on Highway 98. So, and that's very expensive. And I'm just not, the rest of it I'm really excited about, but a lot of landscaping, it's a shame.
It is a shame,
Can't afford it.
and maybe it could be as simple as some street trees. That's what really require maintenance.
Yeah.
But it would also have a big impact.
The sidewalks and the gutters and the pavement stuff really would be, I think that'd be a real plus. Trees and whatever else would be an extra. It starts to open up that back.
Are there landscaping plants available that do not require much water? think cactus.
yes.
you know, but that's not what we're
Yes, well, the native species,
Native.
yeah, that are common in this area certainly would, but during their establishment period, they would require water.
And so that's irrigation system.
Well, not necessarily, there are, you may have noticed that it's a green bag that you might see around the trunk of a new tree that's been planted, that's a water bag, and it's set to drip. But those bags have to be refilled periodically, weekly maybe.
And we would have to hire someone to do that. And you know, we're paying now, for maintenance of our sprinkler system, what are we paying, $400 a month? Just for maintenance of our sprinkler system. We're paying, just on highway, in the CRA district.
There's a lot of broken heads.
Yeah, and outside the CRA district, that gets no maintenance. And many times it's broken, you may ride by and see water irrigating when it doesn't need to be, someone's hit it with their car or something, so. I would suggest, street trees.
And for the trees, like we did in the past with areas that we didn't have landscaping, we would have the fire truck just run along, spray them down, and then got part of the truck.
But, you know, we're talking, $3,000 a month just for watering Highway 98, and then another for the new landscaping that we have, and we can't afford that. And that will be on the, all of that will be on the city if the CRA sunsets, so, and we.
Russell, I'm curious on your comment about promoting businesses to relocate there. What property is really available in that little section that?
That's a good question. There are some, this corner, along Avenue B, basically where the trees are located. There are some residential homes that could be converted for commercial use. Some of those may or may not be a tear down. And it also would complement the businesses that are already there.
For sure.
There's several vacant lots, I can't remember how many offhand, on each side of the street. And then there's a couple of homes that could be tear downs.
Commercial zoning runs all the way up to Avenue C.
Is that, so it'd be strictly commercial, if a house were there and it were torn down, what back there would have to be a commercial establishment?
This mixed use,
It
if
is
it
mixed
wasn't
use.
residential, it would have to have special exception.
Yeah. But even better residential in that area would be a economic benefit, you know, an increased tax base. If you had to come off.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
How bad was it? Nice.
They do. And
And
they'll
then
require
put
a lot
taller.
more.
We've got one in our yard that we planted when we first moved there, and we've got to put a drop oil on it. And it's not the regular wild palmetto, but it's more of a, I don't know what you call it, but it doesn't go like that. It goes,
Can't kill it.
you know what that means, it goes, instead of.
Okay, then is there any more discussion? Did we discuss an amount that we want to partner with, or we want to just keep the amount that we've allocated? We have allocated 170 so far for resurfacing of Avenue B and radiuses, the turn radiuses that we discussed. I believe we did this at our budget workshops last year.
I think that's good until we get more information myself.
Can we, when is the grant application?
Last I heard from Fred Fox that they were anticipating the announcement that the site was open to be done in April. So the applications would be due 60 days after that. So we're in the summer.
Before the application is due?
Right.
But do you need to know about how much funds you'll have to work with to develop?
Yes, we need to begin to look at that, based on the residential area compared to the commercial area.
So, and being that it really, none of this CDBG can change, no change work order, we need to know, he needs to know about pretty much what he's gonna have to work with regarding funding.
Could you address what, the figure that we've put out, how does that seem to you, Mr. Large?
At first, at a cursory brush here, that appears to be adequate for what would be required of the city. The city's participation.
And half of that would come from the CRA or the whole number?
Well, we've allocated 170,
Right.
so all of that would go to that. And then 650, and out of the 650, well, out of all of it, Mr. Fred Fox will get some administrative fees out of 650, and engineering fees, and there's so much money allowed for you to come down here, and Obi to come down and be on site, as site supervisor.
Right, and that's post, that's in addition, it's my understanding that's in addition to that. But as we refine the design and what we're doing, and the grant portion that's eligible and that's not eligible, we'll be able to more clearly understand what the city's participation would be.
If we meet again, when we meet again next month, the application is not due. Could you give us a little better idea if we needed to reallocate more funding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and Howard is working on providing some more information. I think you saw the email in the spreadsheet. He's working on that still.
Okay, and is there any more discussion? We have a motion to partner with CDBG grant program at this point and allocate $170,000 to that, to partner with that. And we have second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? And then the motion carries. And then you got all of that, Ms. Keisha? I do, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Large. Okay, and then we just want you to stay here and report on regarding the design variance request for the mid-block pedestrian crosswalk on Highway 98 4th Street.
Right. Have to report to you that we have received some hesitation from the department on approval of the variance. The plans that we have provided have been reviewed, we made changes, and those are approved, but the variance, they're having some hesitation on. I do have a phone call into the district design engineer in Chipley. So I think at this point it would be prudent for us to have that dialogue with him, and we may want to suggest a meeting with him in particular, and whoever else may be reviewing the variance. I think it would be a good idea to have someone from the board attend that meeting, just so he has an understanding of the board's desire for this crosswalk location. And there may be certain elements of it that they're uncomfortable with, such as the location. They may suggest an alternate location. I'm just speculating,
But, we need to continue the dialogue with them.
Why doesn't that surprise me? I can see you smiling.
Mr. Hartman, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
So it's suggested that we meet with the DOT people. Could, not just one of us, but could 2 of us, or 3 of us, or all of us go? But that might be too
No,
many.
you cannot unless we literally advertise it and post it and treat it like a public meeting, but that's.
Even though we've already voted on this crosswalk and we've already made this decision to have, to move forward with the
Yeah,
crosswalk.
we can't be, we're too likely to be accused of having a conflict sometimes. We have more than one member.
Or could we go and say,
They
could I
can
go,
come, that's a good
could I go
agreement.
and meet at 1 o'clock and one of the others go and meet at 1:15 or 1:20?
No, what are
Okay.
we trying to accomplish?
The crosswalk.
So we want the variance. Russell's saying, hey, it would be helpful to have someone from the board go to emphasize how much we want this, how much we need this. Can they work with us and make this happen? Is there not one of you that?
I would go, but I didn't know. if
This
it-
is this is the,
The crossing of 98.
Right,
Yes.
but I mean, where we would be putting these outcrop in the middle of the road, like
Well,
we have headaches on the other one.
But we're not doing that.
No,
Oh, so that's not the variance.
That's not the variance.
that's the variance to have the crosswalk at all.
Right.
I see.
That would have been the ultimate question.
It says a mid-block crossing.
I mean, as Keisha said, we could ask them to come here, but if Russell's setting up a meeting at regional Chipley, then they're unlikely to want to come to Carrabelle. So, I mean, the simplest would be that simply have the board designate somebody to go and explain exactly how important this is to our district.
Okay. All right. And we couldn't go and meet, I could go and meet at 1 o'clock and Mr. Powers could go.
Mr. Powers could also set up a meeting with him.
Mhm.
That's fine, but staggering and doing those kind of things.
Okay.
All right.
You don't think it'd come here?
I can always ask.
I think it would probably be a better thing to go there and not to, put them out.
I think they would be agreeable.
Okay. All right, do we need a motion for this then?
Yes, a motion, someone needs to make a motion designating the nominee for the board to go accompany Russell to DOT headquarters, or regional office.
I'll make a motion that we ship Ms. Brenda to Chipley. And she stays until we request her to come back.
All right.
Or that she can come back anytime the meeting's over to discuss the variance, to help us preserve the crosswalk opportunity.
and I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. May and a second by Mr. Powers. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you. And I'll just let you set that up, a couple of 3 weeks in advance, so I can make sure everybody's on board.
Sure.
Okay, or I'll send you some days, you send me some days. Thank you. All right, and then the stormwater, item number 2, repair of the stormwater drain culvert at southwest corner of Tallahassee and Avenue A, next to the Messer Pavilion. Report from Mahovia.
All right, we received a price quote from Steggy Contracting. They've done work in Carrabelle before. The quote was for $3,300 for repair of the inlet top, and that includes everything, demolition and replacement.
Okay. I think we voted on this before, Keisha.
Yes.
So I don't think we need any motion on it. Does
Okay.
everyone-
And it's under the threshold.
Okay.
Yeah. So does everyone approve of that? Okay, so we all approve of it, so.
Very good.
We'll move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this late hour. Okay, so we'll move forward with the ECT projects. Item number 1, the 4th Street boat ramp improvements. Estimated project start date and completion date, but we noticed they've already started, so that's a good thing. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Chris Fagerstrom with ECT. I'm going to cover the first item, the 4th Street boat ramp. Like Mayor LaPaz said, that it's already under construction. I would estimate that the completion date would probably be approximately a month from now. The site work, the paving, the concrete, the sidewalk work, the sidewalk down to the boat ramp, probably be done within 2 weeks. But the boat or the dock itself, I think the contractor said that they're scheduling that and they'll probably get started in about 2 weeks. So I think another 2 weeks to get that completed. So I think everything will be done in about a month. There are a couple items we want to talk about. We met on site with the contractor today. First thing to talk about is the sidewalk along 98. To meet ADA compliance with the grade across the sidewalk, we are going to need to shift the sidewalk as it comes to the boat ramp entrance, shift it back away from, just say 5 feet back away from 98, and then come back and tie into the sidewalk after we get past, so we can meet the cross slope across there, because it's probably at a 5% grade or approximately right at the road. So we want to pull it back so we can get it to that 2% grade, so it's ADA compliant. And then what we'll end up doing is that portion of the apron between the sidewalk and the road, we'll make that concrete now. So I think it's going to make it look a lot nicer, and it's really just a minor change to the design. It's not too much of a cost. The other item that we wanted to talk about a little bit relates back to the mid-block crosswalk. That looks like it's going to be tying in to the end of the sidewalk on our project. And as it stands now, that area where it crosses is an old driveway access. That'll be converted to a ramp with the crosswalk project. But kind of to keep it ADA compliant right now, we need to install a curb, an F curb, just like is along 98 and other spots, and then put the sidewalk at grade. So we didn't want to do that and then have to come right behind and rip it back out for the crosswalk project. So it's something we want to talk about and coordinate with Inovia and with the commission to make sure that we do it the most efficient way and make sure we don't end up building something and tearing it out immediately just to rebuild it a different way. So what we were proposing to do was to stop the work on site just short of the crosswalk location and let the crosswalk project complete the landing ramp on that side and attach to the sidewalk like they currently show in their plans. The tricky thing here, I guess, is kind of timing. Because like I said, this project will be, the paving work will be done in a couple weeks. And as you just said, you're looking at several weeks out to meet with DOT. So just something we need to think about and maybe have a little discussion about how we want to move forward with the coordination of those two projects.
I think Russell's plans now had already yours had it in there to do that crosswalk and then to do the little apron there for him. So,
To do the ramp.
right, correct. And to tie into our
Yeah,
sidewalk.
some curbing and then
Right.
tying into the sidewalk about 5 feet inside of the property line.
Okay, and so y'all would cut your sidewalk along 98 short.
Right, it's just short of the property line, about 5 feet short of the property line. Yeah. Actually, I don't.
No, you can't look at it.
No, it's top secret.
Yeah, because I think, because we saw yours is showing coming across and tying into ours somewhere back.
Yeah, right.
Right. I think you were taking that over here, but we'll let them go all the way to the curb. where that driveway is, they're gonna go ahead and pour all the way there, since the curb's already there.
The sidewalk or the curb?
Both.
Both, the curb's already in place
Say
there,
39 feet of the curb.
so they'll stop at, like, before
It goes right up to the entrance, the driveway.
actually, I
Now,
got.
Chris, you were talking about the 5% grade and you want to go with the 2, where was that on there?
Yes, sir. As we come across the driveway, or the ramp itself, it's probably about 5% grade right adjacent to the road, so we wanted to step it back 5 feet so we can keep it 2%. So this sidewalk will come, step out, go across, and then step back. And then this will all be a concrete apron, and it'll look really nice.
Okay. I thought that's what you were talking about.
Okay, so, then would there be is there a cost change on that? To move that sidewalk back up and put the apron?
There will be a slight cost difference. One of the things, kind of with the two jobs going on at the same time, they have some overlap. So there'll be a deduct from one of the jobs or the other. So that should cover.
Oh, you're talking about the retrofit?
No, I'm talking about the crosswalk.
Okay.
The crosswalk project and the boat ramp project, they have some overlap in the sidewalk. I think we overlap by 20-some feet of sidewalk. We both had the same sidewalk in our plans.
Okay.
So I think however we end up handling it will be deducted from one job, and then, the cost of the change would be partially covered by that.
There's like an old driveway right there, so we'll stop here at the curb, and
And let Anovia finish it out.
Correct.
Right, and so we'll connect where they stop,
Okay.
and also to the sidewalk that goes down towards Brent.
All right, and then part of your project as well includes the sidewalk on Avenue A.
Yes, and Avenue A, right,
Okay.
and across.
All right.
Yeah, and one other thing to coordinate is it looks like your sidewalk is 6 foot from back of sidewalk to face of curb. So the sidewalk's kind of 5.5 feet. I guess we want to coordinate, we showed a 5-foot sidewalk. Do we want to pick 5?
From the back of curb?
Yeah, from back of curb to back of sidewalk.
Yeah, I thought DOT requires 6 feet.
Including the curb.
It's adjacent to the curb.
Including the curb. That's fine.
I think that's correct. I think that's right.
I don't know if it includes the curb or not.
I'll check that, and let's talk about that.
Yeah, because we're putting a new one in there now, because the right now is not even.
Right.
I don't think we yet, well, I guess we're gonna, Northwood Asphalt's gonna get us a price difference for just additional concrete, or if there is any additional work, don't know yet, need to do their measurements, so. But it shouldn't be very much, since we're kind of swapping.
Okay.
One year.
You're not doing that section.
Right,
there.
correct.
Okay.
We'll take that one
That's
section
Anovia's
out.
gonna do. Okay.
Correct.
All right, so I don't believe we need a motion on this one. Okay. Then should we move on then? Are y'all ready to move to item 2? Okay, improvements to the alleyway between Northeast First Street and Tallahassee Street, the alleyway between Gander's Hardware and Carrabelle Junction. Report from ECT.
Right, and then, that was approved for Northwood Asphalt to go ahead and do that work. They're gonna go ahead and cut 8 inches and put 6 inches of millings in. But they have not started it yet, because we just got done milling on Marine Street, so they sort of wanted to get the milling done on the boat ramp first and do that, so they kind of looked at it. I know they called it a utility locate. I think they're still waiting. I think the utility locate is up tomorrow, so I think then they'll start working on that.
Okay. All right, and we don't need a motion on that, it's already approved. All right, then, item 3, improvements to the alleyway between Southeast Avenue B and Highway 98 behind Carrabelle Pharmacy. Report from ECT, including survey and your reevaluation of engineering findings.
We're still waiting on the survey.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He has been out there.
He has, and he was out there today, actually, I think he was out there again today.
So, what about we did this, we partnered with this one of the main reasons was, two was to get the bio retention cell done at the same time and to do resurfacing of the entire street. So we wouldn't have a patch. So what is North Florida Asphalt gonna work with us on that, or?
They are still working for us, because the last thing they're gonna do is the paving. They're gonna go ahead, because the temp, it's still not warm enough to, lay the asphalt yet. They wanna have at least 70-degree days for multiple days, and the temperature rising, not dropping. So they are still, we have a little bit of time.
Okay, so there's no action to be taken on this, item 3, because we're holding on a survey.
And our plan is we've already started coordinating with DOT, and we've been coordinating with North Florida Asphalt, so we're hoping as soon as we can get the survey, we can turn it around as quick as possible.
This is for in front of your area.
Yeah, this is the drain is next, yes. Because we don't wanna have a patch. We don't wanna put a patch in front of
No, we don't want to patch the road. We want it to be one solid. I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone. Okay, item 4, the stormwater drainage improvements on the, now, this is the front side of your project, of your place, Mr. Christie. The stormwater drainage improvements on the east side of Marine Street between Southeast Avenue B and Highway 98, and report including survey and reevaluation findings, but you have no survey. So, all right, so no action on that. And so now the Marine Street stormwater retrofit project progress report.
Yes, we are nearing pretty much the completion of the majority of that work out there. They still need to do some things on the bioretention pond, but the stormwater, the structures are all in, seem to be doing well. There was no water this morning, down, sitting out there. We still have the paving of Avenue E. There was a discussion at first of milling that, but now they're just going to go ahead and lay put a level layer down instead, because the asphalt's so poor. They wouldn't be able to mill it, they'd be milling the dirt. So they'll just come through the top and then lay the asphalt on top of that. So that's pretty, you have the paving and then the landscaping.
And you did have to remove or replace a large area of sidewalk and concrete where they dug down and there was nothing but air under there pretty much.
Correct. When they did the area on the north end of the project there, along the northern end of the seawall, when they took out the one sidewalk section, there was nothing underneath the sidewalk section to the north, which kind of made that angle. So it was the discussion of, do you leave it or do what do we do? And the discussion was, since there's a large void underneath there, or that area was replaced, and they kind of patched that void around where the seawall comes into the sidewalk on Marine Street to help, because the water was coming in behind the seawall, and there was washing a lot of that out. And the same for the drain there along the seawall is also. So those two areas were patched.
I will say the contractor is very conscientious. I've been out there most every day, and he points out any problems. They are diligently working, trying not to even have any little puddles. And if you went by there after this big rain we had, there's just a little bit of puddling here and there, but they're working with what they had to work with. And I know, I think Camera asked for some stuff that they dug out. There's when they started digging the trenches, railroad ties and oyster shells. I mean, they just laid the existing street, asphalt on top of the old street and whatever was there. So they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. They're shooting elevations everywhere. If they have to put extra asphalt here or less asphalt wherever they need to do, they're trying to get the drainage. They're diligently working on it. But I noticed when I was out there one day, and they then brought it to my attention that there's an erosion problem in the bioretention cell. And then over one weekend, someone drove across the west side of it, like maybe trying to mud bog in it or something. And so youngsters were in it with their bicycles, and so I looked at it and talked about it with Susan on the site and with the contractor, and I talked to Courtney about it. It's like we're going to need to put some type of barricade once they get this plant life in there, And then you see the water standing in it. Have y'all seen the, then that's the way it's supposed to work. So at least the water's standing there and not at the entrance to the boat ramp turnaround. But we thought about an iron fence at first, kind of like the fence that's along the river walk, but then when we realized there was erosion control, we talked about lime rocks, right? You said something about 2 inches in diameter, and then that would be a barricade, a good barricade, and then some smaller lime rock that would fill in the voids that would help. Did you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of erosion coming down into that.
well, one thing I'd like to point out in terms of the erosion is that, you know, it has to be stabilized. And the plants, once they get established, the erosion isn't going to be an issue. Right now, you've got bare earth and you've got runoff going directly in there. The earth can't stand up to that kind of, you know, water flowing over it. So it's kind of an interim problem. But the secondary problem that you've identified is people, you know, driving through or cutting through, or somebody, worst case scenario, destroying all of our plants once we get them put in place. So I think it is a good idea to set up, you know, maybe with some larger boulders, kind of, I call them almost bollards, you know, put them every 5 feet or something, and then between those, maybe for some temporary erosion control till everything gets established, you know, some smaller riprap rubble in between each one of those, just kind of at grade to create kind of a perimeter, and then all of our plantings would go inside there. So I think that would be helpful.
And actually, that I was talking with the contractor, and he and I kind of came up with that idea. He did actually. And the fencing, if we put fencing, and if that is hit accidentally, even with a boat trailer, then we're going to have to repair fencing. If a boulder is hit, it might get moved out of place a little bit. You know, somebody could get it moved back, but you know, it's not going to be a major repair. So did you get a price on that?
That's what we're still working on, the amount, and then we just wanted to make sure that was okay, you know, with the board, and then we can have them go ahead and we can get the price.
Is that okay to move forward? We still have a surplus, but we're dwindling that down now once we start with our surveys, or ordering our surveys and re-engineering and working on the drainage issues on the northern end of Marine Street. But maybe we won't have to add anything to it.
Well, one more thing.
Okay.
One other issue I'd like to bring up for maybe the board to discuss is we repaired a couple of spots of the pavement along the retaining wall, but there are several gaps where the retaining wall is separated away from the sidewalk. My opinion would be that water can get down in there and start kind of washing some of that base material or beneath the sidewalk out. So I would recommend that we get NFA to backfill those kind of with some flowable fill. We don't know how to estimate what kind of quantity that would be because we're not sure how big those voids are, but the pavement looks in good shape. But I think we need to put something in there to stop that water from going in there and eroding.
And where is this now?
Between those two sections that we replaced, north of the pavilion, there's I believe it's probably about 3 sections of the concrete slab.
Yeah, the gap is
right.
Probably that wide between the wall and the pavement.
Right, and I guess we do know when we ripped up those 2 slabs, there wasn't a void, at least on the ends. So we do know it doesn't run.
Hopefully there's not much of a void there, but this is more of a kind of stop measure, so we don't lose any more material and have to replace sidewalk.
I know it, if you get down on the seawall side and look, I mean, it's just, I don't know if it was bad construction work or engineering or no oversight or all of it. Maybe it was all of that in that original project out there, so. Can they move forward with that to stabilize the sidewalk?
Gotta do what we gotta do.
I didn't notice it on the southern end
I
of the
didn't see
pavilion.
it.
It's just in that section on the north end of the pavilion.
Do we need a motion for this, Mr. Hartman?
Is it, I mean, it is an extra, there's more additional funding moved over
Change
to
order.
it?
No, we think we have funding at this point. It's like a change
It's
order.
essentially covered by the scope of the existing project. I mean, part of it is to state, I mean, this is just more extensive than you thought would be necessary.
Well, we don't have a specific line item for full fill, so it would be a new item in the bid.
Are you all gonna then do up a change order to get with the contractor on? So
Yes.
they're gonna bring it in, so.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so we made a motion and because it would be a change order.
And the barricade, the lime rock barricade is an addition as well.
That's fine, throw it all in. Throw it all in. Good.
And it's just because they're, you know, it was unforeseen, it's a remodeling project basically, and they tore into it.
Subsurface conditions are all.
Yes. Okay, all right, so then, we need a motion then that would discuss the barricade around the bioretention cell and to, fill, and stabilize the sidewalk there in the northern end. Okay, so we have a motion for that, by Mr. May. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So it carries. All right then. Thank y'all. Yes, sir? Well,
I think it's somewhat dependent on how long that north end takes, because that's the resurfacing. We want to do it all at once, so we don't get back.
I asked this from the Riverfront Festival standpoint, which will be April 22nd and 23rd. That is a week early, something like that.
I'd like to say we would be done by then. We're hoping as soon as we get the survey, like I said, we could turn around the design for the stuff in front of your area really quick. And it won't take them very long to install that, and then they can be paving and be done.
Yeah, it won't take that long, it should take a long.
No, paving should take more than 7 days.
if they don't have that survey by then, somebody's in trouble. So, and that's 2 months from now.
Yeah.
But this is for we're hoping on to protect your property.
I'm happy about that.
All right. Okay.
My chamber cap on, thinking about
Yeah.
the other project.
All right, so can we go ahead and move forward then? Okay, on CRA board projects, if the engineers would like to leave, since it's so late, you're more than welcome to. Please don't feel like you've got to stay with us. Review the draft CRA nonprofit organizational special events grant program, the brochure criteria, and then the CRA nonprofit organizational special event grant application. Courtney sent that out to everyone. Did y'all have a chance to review it? Okay. Do y'all have comments on that? You haven't reviewed it?
So I have no comments. I'm sorry, I don't read I just didn't get it right. I was on the highway.
Okay, have you had
I
a
haven't
chance?
reviewed it, I just saw it.
Okay. Do maybe we should, but the thing is now, the Riverfront Festival is going to be putting an application in.
Right.
And we needed to get this taken care of so that the Riverfront Festival could put an application in. I know that I did ask Mr. Steve Allen to come forward and give us an idea of what he wanted, what he was going to be requesting, and he wasn't ready. And so,
I reviewed it.
very good.
Courtney, you had a maximum on there for something. I forget what the maximum was.
$2,500.
And then you had, I wanted to understand, I didn't understand how in-kind services played into the numbers.
I don't think it plays into it. It's just to let the event organizer and event people know that does cost money.
And that way you are putting forth money.
Our time.
And actually, I think your time, I don't know if both of you, I know Courtney works on it, that probably should be included, the administrative, just to include it, you know, because for instance, the riverfront, the harbor, Holiday on the Harbor was $325 for a policeman that day.
So that the in-kind services don't offset the $25.
No.
That's an addition.
It's in addition to.
So it lets them know what their entire budget is, you know. They're not only hiring performers and getting portalets and written tents, they're using administrative and policemen
But they're
and
not
streets
paying
and roads.
for
No,
the
they're not
budget.
paying.
It's an in-kind service, okay. That's my only question, I thought it looked good. I don't know if you want to clarify that, if I'm the only, maybe everybody else, when they review it, will not have that same.
I reviewed it, so.
You send me that again, or can I find it?
I sent it with the agenda. Do you have the agenda?
Well, no, I didn't, I don't have any comments.
So essentially, we would be able to give them 2,500, and that would include everything.
That would be, well, I think the way it is that it's a percentage, just like, it's up to 25, a maximum of a $10,000 project, just like the CRA has a maximum of $20,000 and the CRA grants 80%. This is a 25% grant up to $10,000.
Oh, okay.
So the maximum will be $2,500.
If the budget is, right, if the budget is $10,000 in total, and I assume the in-kind services then work into that budget.
Yeah.
So if the budgets were.
But the in-kind services will be
maximum of
included in that 2,500.
No, well, no.
No.
But your budget could, well,
Could
include.
so that plays in the favor of the organization.
And it states in there what's eligible and what's not eligible.
Right.
Sorry.
And it states in there what's eligible and what's not eligible.
Oh, okay.
Everything that you asked for is not eligible. It's mainly promotional, entertainment,
Portalets, yeah, portalet, the other ones, the Tallahassee and Titusville, they did the portalets and entertainers and advertising, promotional.
but it's not for tents and tangible items that can be carried off
And used elsewhere, and there's no place for storage, we don't have place for storage anyway, so. And it also discussed, after so many years, 4 years or 4 or 5 years, to start reducing the amount that's granted, because it's like seed money to get the event going.
Right, TDC.
To taper off on it. And the other cities do that as well.
So what do we need? I'll be willing to go with that.
Are you looking at it now, Mr. Bowe?
I had it, and I just.
And the format was similar to our CRA format, and a lot of the, seemed like eligibility and not eligible was similar to the CRA format. And did you?
If we approve it tonight and we want to amend it at a further time.
I would think that we could
do that, right?
We did amend the CRA, but, I mean, a facade grant once or twice, and we could still amend it.
Right, so I'll make the motion to approve the brochure, the nonprofit organization special event grant application package.
Good.
Do you have that, Keisha?
I got a motion.
To approve the nonprofit special events grant application package, including the brochure and application by Mr. Powers. And is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye, okay, so that carries for Mr. Powers and Commissioner Allen. Okay, billboard advertisements, and Mr. Bowe May had he's going to make a presentation on that, on the current billboard signage at the corner of East Highway 98 and Northeast 12th Street.
I'm going to make a few remarks on the presentation. We think we can paint on that existing vinyl that's there. And, you know, there are basically two ways to make it more legible. One is to darken the background from that light. Right now, all the colors are pretty much within the same density. The gray board, this is just as an example. The gray board is,
The same color as that background.
it's this background here. It all just kind of loops together.
Yeah.
And I've looked at other hooks around where this sign is displayed in other places, and it's much more brilliant than this one. This is very, it needs gold highlights. I mean, this could be, basically it would be a matter of making the color more colorful, the background darker, whether they replace the sort of plank look somehow, which would be more complicated to do to replicate that. But you could replace the lines in it and make it denser, and then make these either more different colors, and we could come back with several different.
Okay, so Courtney sent out 2 or 3 different, some had red, or, I mean, do we need to decide on a color, or just let this gentleman do it for us to?
No, I think we'd get it more, I mean, we could pick one. I would go with either, if this is more blue, I would go with more like something red, and have the yellow hook and more of the red letters and make it
Colorful.
colorful. And paint on it and see how long it lasts. I mean, it's not gonna, he's not gonna charge the paint because we're not sure exactly. We gotta paint on that vinyl to see. Randy.
Well,
He was here.
Blue
We looked at it
background.
together. I'm sorry.
Red on a blue background might not stand out too much. Almost, there's 2 dark values there.
This wouldn't be that dark, but it would be darker than what's up there. And, you know, so I don't know, I think I can get some more colors together, we can look at it and we can talk. I think I need to talk a little more before we actually do this.
Okay, now is he going to charge for this?
No.
Oh, no charge.
He said he
Okay.
There's 5 of them now.
Yeah.
No, he's in the good neighborhood mode, you know. He's going back to Tennessee right now, but he'll be back.
All right, well, should we have a motion to allow Mr. Randy to doctor our signage?
And then we can consult the
Upgrade.
Cal, we can consult the Cal, we got another artist on board, I think.
All right. And why, if it was that dark blue, white, the white?
I was thinking white.
If it's
I
dark,
like the white.
would you object if the blue planks went away and it was a little more expressionistic?
I wouldn't.
Painterly kind of background? I mean, I sort of like that idea myself. It just makes it more eye-catching.
Yeah, and then, a really gold hook.
Make that hook stand out. The string could stand out a lot more. It's all just lacks. It
Paint
lacks.
the rope, yeah, if you could, I don't know, it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
What you do is you think about looking at that in black and white, and that's why I say red and blue would almost be, and so the standing out of white contrast,
Yeah, I'm for
because, you know,
I think it would be a little, more artfully done. It would look a little.
All right, then, may we have a motion then to allow Mr. Randy to proceed?
yes, I make the motion for Mr. Randy to see.
Okay. And a second?
Who's Mr. Randy?
I don't know.
And he can paint on the vinyl?
We think we can.
Paint the vinyl.
We do the paint with the oil base, I mean, it's an acrylic paint on the vinyl.
Is that all we have, is just Mr.
And it'll
Randy?
last for how long?
Toy, T-O-Y.
Oh, toy,
I mean,
Randy
is this
toy.
something we're gonna have to repaint next year? Is it
Well,
gonna-
I think it's something, if we don't repaint, that we might just take down. I mean, it's fading anyway. I wouldn't look at it as a long-term sign up there.
Now, can,
And I can paint a little of it and see what we feel like.
Mr. Hartman, can we get, I know what we can do. We can have Mr. Bowe give it to Courtney, the proposed colors, and let Mr. Cal approve it through Courtney, or look at it. Can we do that? Since he's the artist?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, Courtney's the director, so she can take the lead on it and Cal.
Okay. He's the artist, you're the paint artist, you know, we'll trust you.
Do we have a
on that.
budget on these?
It's free.
It's free.
We pick it, we buy the paint, and we'll put it on.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, all right. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. And I would suggest on the lift station facility, since it's so late, and we're gonna have to most likely, thank you, hire somebody on the lift station facility to do a billboard. Most likely, we're probably would have to hire saw signs to do it. Well, let's see what he does. Okay, well, let's see what he does first, and then, I would suggest to table the lift station facility, at this point in time, and, maybe take it up when we do our budget, our next budget, and include that in our budget. What do y'all think about that?
Agreed.
Okay.
Are we gonna be allowed?
Can we motion to, do we need to motion, I think we're gonna table this, lift station facility until our next budget. Oh, okay. Do we need a motion for that?
Does this impact what we're talking about?
It does.
It does. Maybe we should let Mr.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
I was just reading.
Sorry.
Okay.
Very briefly, you had asked us to look into the permissibility of doing that on the lift station side.
Yes,
So we did.
Thank you.
In Florida statute, it is an exempt sign, so it does not require a permit.
Okay.
And this memo explains that. We also spoke with Michael Green, who's the DOT outdoor advertising coordinator, and confirmed that with him. So it is indeed exempt. So you can do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good thing. Let's do table the creative for what that sign
All right.
might be,
And
and what it should say.
We'll see how Mr. Toy does, Randy Toy. Or we may hire saw signs to do something really creative. And there's a couple of pine trees between now and whenever, and see if the property owner will let those little pine trees come down. They're about, I don't know, 8 feet tall or something.
They can disappear in the night.
Okay. All right, maybe it's a storm. All right, so can I get a motion to table the lift station facility as a billboard at this point?
I make that motion.
Okay. So Mr. Powers is motioning to table the lift station facility as a billboard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And Commissioner Allen, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Is there any other items by the CRA board members? Okay, I just want to say real quick, and Tamara kind of knows about this, the TDC wants to get our webcam back up operating. That's at the old Coast Guard dock office. And they, it appears that they would have the cost, whatever it takes to, they did that over in Apalachicola, Main Street, split the cost to get their webcam back up in operation. And the TDC would split that cost with them. Actually, Mr. Kirk Blair said the TDC would love to partner with the CRA on some kind of a project if we can come up with something for advertising, but,
Maybe this will. Does that require our electricity?
webcam, yes, it does require our electricity.
Do we have it there now?
No, I think it's shut off.
Everything's turned off.
Okay, the air conditioner's missing and there's a hole in the wall. Has that been fixed? In that building?
I'll check tomorrow.
William took it away maybe a year ago and didn't everything back.
I'll turn it on.
I thought y'all don't use that building though, right?
We haven't used it since last year at the Riverfront Festival when Steve used it, but I don't know that he planned.
The power was turned off because the shrimp boats were using it.
Right,
Now the bathroom's gone, the toilet's gone.
yeah. The toilet's gone?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Well, they were having plumbing issues and it was leaking, and because there's a public restroom right outside, you can just go outside.
I'd like to get my mirror out of the bathroom, but I couldn't.
Okay, well, we'll do some research on the webcam and see if it's still there and if, you know,
What it would take to get it operating.
Oh,
You know what,
It was hooked on the internet.
it would be fascinating to be, because I remember looking at these years ago, but webcams that would have great views with the DEC, something partner with them, like out and out to the river, Carrabelle Beach, like maybe 3 or 4 around town, so people could look from wherever they are and say, hey, you know, the beach looks great today, I'm gonna come down, or hey, that, you know, looks good, or whatever.
Look at the world's smallest police station.
Yeah, well, no, that,
Instead of putting it at the waterfront dock, put it at a business that already has power and internet, so that we're not having to pay for just that.
Yeah.
And the moorings or sea quarters or fathoms or
Okay.
somewhere that's already got,
All right, I'll ask Kurt Blair if he has an idea, you know.
hey, you have to pay a power bill just to run a webcam.
I know it.
so shit, anyway.
And the internet is
Yeah.
expensive.
Internet, yeah, Fathoms might want to do that even.
I don't know how this happens.
Speaking of fathoms, they had their roof blown off, now they can soundproof their bandstand to make some sound awareness.
What about
Okay,
at dockside looking back across the river?
Oh, they've already put it.
That's not from the CRA district. I mean, it's looking at, that's what I think.
So is there any more, any other discussion by the CRA board members? All right then, may I have a motion to adjourn? A motion to adjourn, please?
You got it, I got it.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's a motion by Commissioner Allen, second by Mr. Powers. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And that was Allen and Powers.